Hello everyone. In this video, we will explore how to build a multi-threaded burst-compiled pathfinding system using the experimental but highly performant Namesh query. Let's begin. We already have an entity spawning system that we built in the last video. If you have not already, do watch it now as we will be building upon that. We will be attaching a component and a dynamic buffer to all spawned entities. Unit component, which holds from and to location along with movement specific data, and unit buffer element that holds set of waypoints as a path. Unit manager will be monobehavior class with a singleton pattern to dictate governing variables specific to pathfinding. The unit system will be housing a pathfinding job and will be responsible for caching paths and routing entities. I have imported a small section of the course and our unit initializer system is spawning entities. This is pretty much where we left in the last video. Here is the pathUtils class provided by Unity and we are going to treat this as a black box. Quickly peeking through, we need to call its findStraightPath method to get our search path in world coordinates. I have merged a dependent class called GeometryUtils also into the same class and removed the assert statements. This class is freely available on GitHub and I will have a link in the description. We are obviously going to need new variables in our unit initializer component to add behavior to our spawned entities. Firstly, we don't need the entities to always spawn at the world origin. Instead, we want them to spawn from the current position of the spawner. We are simply asking our entities to move to the other end of this course. So we need to specify how far along z-axis is the respective destination located. This is just so we can make our entities move and is specific to this scenario. We have to specify how close an entity needs to get to a given corner to consider it has reached the current waypoint and start moving towards the next waypoint. We would also need speed range and a seed value which we will be using to generate random numbers in our spawner system. So there would be slight variation in assigned speed values for every spawned entity. Before we proceed any further, let's create all the scripts we need. Unit buffer and unit component will be attached to every spawned entity, whereas the unit system will contain logic to find paths and move entities along a path. Finally, we need the unit manager to set some pathfinding parameters in the editor. The unit manager specifies few key parameters governing path calculation. Don't worry too much if these don't make sense now, it will be clear when we start writing the system. Max path size is the number of nodes that can be temporarily stored in the query during search operation. Max entities routed per frame, as the name says, it can be used to control how many calculations are done per frame. We can think of this as a scaled load distribution. Max path node pool size is mostly the same as max path size, but I like to keep it separate as it will allow us to experiment with a different combination. Logically speaking, this is redundant and it can be substituted with max path size. Max iteration. As far as I understand, this specifies how many nodes are traversed in a single update call, as we will keep repeating an operation until a path is found. And this variable controls the iterations. We will also have a variable to specify if caching needs to be used and how frequently entities are spawned. Since there will only ever be one instance of this class, we will implement a basic singleton pattern. The unit buffer can be considered as dynamic array attached to every entity which holds the current path as set of waypoints a given entity has to follow. The unit component will also be attached to every spawned entity, which contains information about the from and to location, along with Namesh location version of the from and to locations. Namesh location is something that Namesh query understands. We will have variables to specify if a unit has been routed, meaning a path has been resolved for a given unit, and if the unit has reached its destination. Using cached path is for us to see if a unit is indeed using any cached path. Also, for the basic movement, we need current steering target, speed, and a parameter to specify how close an entity is to current waypoint so it can start moving towards the next waypoint. A buffer index, which of course will be initialized to 0 at the start of the game, pointing at the first entry of given entity's unit buffer. Let's alter the unit initializer system to spawn entities at a specified frequency. Again, if this is unfamiliar, make sure to watch my previous video where we just spawned entities. We will introduce a new variable called elapsed time, which will be incremented in the update method. And once it is past our predefined threshold time we specified, we are going to spawn a grid of entities. We need unit component and unit buffer on every spawned entity, so let's add that first. I forget this every time. Components and buffer elements are structs and not classes. Let's fix that. Now, the unit buffer is going to be populated by our pathfinding system, so no need to worry about it for now. However, we need to initialize the unit component. We will have to set the from and to location. The destination is on the other side of this course, so we will have to use the z-axis distance parameter. The current buffer index will be 0, that points to the first entry of the unit buffer. To set the speed, we will be using random function from Unity Mathematics, which needs a seed value. We will change the seed value so that we can assign slightly different speed values to every spawned entity. We are now going to set the initialized component to our spawned entity, and of course the spawn position should consider the current position so it does not spawn entities at the world origin. We also should not be destroying the converted prefab, and we have to reset the elapsed time variable to 0 so we can keep spawning entities. Let's test the spawner system we just wrote. Note that we have to manually provide the current transform position of spawner to the current position variable we declared. We can automate this by writing custom authoring script, but this will do just fine for now. Let's start writing the unit system which will be responsible for finding path for entities. Let's declare a tag component called unit routed so we can tag an entity after it has been routed. We will iterate over entities which have not been routed and have unit component and unit buffer. So this is where we need to schedule the job. We will be using iJob construct to implement a single pathfinding job which can find a path for a given entity. Let's start by accepting all input arguments we need. Status and returning status are outputs for certain calls to Namesh query method, and path utils find straight path method, which can be read to make a decision as to whether we have to proceed with pathfinding or if a path has been found. We are going to use these in a moment. Namesh query is not blittable, so we cannot have a native array of Namesh query and pass it into a parallel job. Moreover, we cannot create a Namesh query inside a job, and we cannot use the Namesh query instance to find multiple paths as Namesh query methods update the Namesh query. If we use the same Namesh query, we will have to resolve one path before trying to calculate another path, essentially making it a single threaded operation. However, Namesh query can be used inside iJob, so we will have a reference to Namesh query declared here. So we can create a new Namesh query outside this job and pass a separate Namesh query instance for every entity. Extents is nothing but maximum distance along all three axes from a specified from and to location within which Namesh surface can be found. Elevated point is to just elevate waypoints along y-axis so units don't sink into the ground while traversing. This is a dirty fix specific to my use case and it is entirely optional. Max iteration and max path size, as we know, will be specified by unit manager. We will need a reference to dynamic buffer so we can fill in the waypoints once a path is found. A result is a copy of calculated waypoints as an output from the job so we can maintain paths for caching. Status output is again an output from the job containing three integer values. First index will hold 1 or 0 signifying if a path calculation was a success. The second index will hold a key unique to every calculated path. Third index will be the corner count. We will have to first convert the from and to locations to Namesh query location using Namesh query.mapLocation method. The third parameter here is agent type ID. We will be using humanoid and only humanoid, as we will get an error if we use custom agent type ID. This is currently a known issue, so the default agent type of humanoid is 0. We will check if the locations are valid and initiate path finding by calling beginFindPath. The third parameter here is area mask, and calling this returns path query status. If the path query status here is in progress, we can call update find path along with the maximum iteration we wish to perform. If the update find path returns success, we can end pathfinding by calling end find path method, which returns the number of nodes that correspond to a path. We can later use this size to populate an array of actual polygon IDs that make up the path by calling query.getPathResult. Now we can use path utils. We need few more variables to invoke this method. Most importantly, we need a native array to get back the result from this class, which will be Namesh locations along the nodes that form our path. In short, this method iterates over every node comprising our path and determines the closest Namesh location. It is very nice to know the low-level implementation. If you are interested in understanding what's happening there, read the Namesh query documentation, especially the create location and get portal points method. We can now get the returning status and verify if path utils returned a path. The key I am using here is sum of x, y, z values from both from and to locations multiplied by path size. You can implement any other method to derive a key uniquely identifying a path. We can now populate result array, output, and unit buffer with elevated point. I guess we won't be needing the declared variable then. Finally, we will be disposing all the native arrays used to get a path. We will test it once we finish writing the system and fix any errors if we find them. Now that we have written the job, let's schedule it. Let's declare all the variables we need to invoke this job. We are going to maintain a list of Namesh queries, result array, status outputs, and job handles. This is because we are planning to route a set number of entities per frame, and we will be finding paths for all these entities in parallel. Due to the constraints Namesh query imposes on us, about which we spoke about earlier, we will need discrete set of variables for every scheduled job. Also, it is worth noting that though we need new Namesh query instance for every job, all of them refer to the same Namesh world which can be cached. With that said, we have to initialize all the variables declared. Let's do that in the onCreate method. Now there are two values which I will hard code here that are available in Unit Manager but are not available inside the onCreate method. The maximum number of entities we plan to route per frame, which is 32, and max path size, which is 1024. We can overcome this problem by using disable auto creation annotation or attribute, but I'm too lazy for that now. Now we can assign all these while scheduling the job. We will also add these entities to routed entities list. If we wanted to be very sure, we could have added the entities to routed entities list after we get a confirmation from the job, but I'm doing this for simplicity. Do note that we are only scheduling the job here and not completing the job yet. This is why we need job handles list. Lastly, we will iterate the local variable to make sure no more than specified entities are routed per frame. Now let's write some logic to complete our job. We will copy all the job handles into a native array and use complete all to complete our scheduled jobs on all available worker threads. Since we are using discrete set of variables for every entity, there will not be any parallel writing issue. That way, Unity is happy to run our code and we keep the sync point due to this job to just one per frame. We can now iterate our job handles to read the result and cache them as a key value pair. Mark the entity as routed, clear all the lists and dispose the native array. Let's quickly fetch the cached path before we go for scheduling a job. That way, if a path is already available, we can simply use that instead of going over all the process we wrote till now. We are going to use the same key logic used in the job and also mark the entity as routed. So, whether an entity is routed by a job or by fetching cached path, it will count towards the specified maximum entities we plan to route per frame. This acts as a very good load balancing and keeps the frame rate fluctuations nominal at all times. Finally, let's write a simple job to move our entities along the respective calculated path. We will iterate over all the entities with routed tag which have unit buffer and unit component. We will use the current buffer index which was initialized to 0 to point towards current or next waypoint along the path. If an entity is close enough to the current waypoint, we will iterate the current buffer index to point towards the next waypoint. Also, once an entity has reached its destination, we will iterate backwards over the waypoint stored in unit buffer until we reach the original starting point. We will also set the unit reached flag to false so the journey starts again and keeps repeating. This job can be scheduled in parallel and burst compilation is enabled by default. We can now test our code and see if it is working. Let's quickly bake a nav mesh. Note that we have to use default humanoid agent type as we spoke about earlier. We will also provide all the governing parameters we need to find a path and not to forget the variables we need to initialize unit component. Of course, it had to throw an error. We don't have much choice now but to fix it. First of all, the routed entities was spelled incorrectly. We will fix that. The second parameter of begin find path must be our destination location, but we had the from location itself. The status output has 3 integers, so the last index will be 2 and not 3. The final error is that we are not reading the path query status output from update find path. So let's read it so we can proceed with invocation of pathUtils class. Let's try it again. Okay, so there you have it. Unlike me, if you have managed to stay awake till now, then you might be wondering at this terrible code, as there is plenty of room for optimization, especially if you cannot use cached path as frequently as this scenario, or if you want to squeeze out as much performance as you can, which is a good thing. To emphasize these areas, I would update unit system class to use entity command buffer instead of entity manager, so caching and retrieving can happen in parallel job. You might also have to reconsider using unit buffer, more so if you are ever going to implement dots navigation on handheld devices, as you need to keep a low memory footprint. Here, the same path is copied over to multiple entities, which is a huge red flag on devices with low memory. We can retrieve the path from our dictionary and iterate over waypoints for many entities. This might require native hash map as we are moving entities in parallel job. So yeah, implement it, play with it, experience a whole lot of crashes. The code is available on GitHub. If you found these videos helpful, do consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. And yes, don't forget to have fun.